this is the first in a series of videos I'm going to do on the Tower of Defiance. Now, none of these videos are professional videos. I'm not a professional video maker. I also do not claim to know everything, and a lot of the things that I have studied are very brief because, just like the rest of you, I don't have a lot of time. I'm tied up in this world system which makes you go to work and do all sorts of things that keeps you from finding out these things. But I hope I'll be able to show you in this series of videos that the second Tower of Babel has been built specifically, and it's been built as a tower of defiance, just like the first Tower of Babel was built as a tower of defiance towards God, and it was built by Nimrod, and we would expect to see a similar figure on the earth as Nimrod if the second Tower of Babel has indeed been built. So let's have a look at what this logo of the World Trade Center site, which they brought out last year, August 2014. They spent $3.57 million for this logo, 5 black lines, and also it's showing it around. Obviously, it's not just one drawing, but it's a whole campaign. So they've released various information about this, and they've even given a 6-point breakdown of what they say it's meant to represent. And here they are. 5 bars represent the 5 towers. This part here is sloped at 17.76 degrees, which they say is meant to represent the height of 1,776 feet. The 2 center white columns, they're saying, represent the Tribute to Light memorial. The 3 black bars are a trident, and the 2 black bars at the bottom are the 2 reflecting pools with the 2 black pits in them. And then obviously you can see it represents a W there. So this is what Douglas Riccardi had to say. Its strength is its ability to be seen in many ways. You could never get more meaning in 5 little bars. The problem is that people may not bother to find out what the meanings are. Well, we're not just going to take their explanation, we're going to have a look and see what the hidden meaning is behind this logo for the World Trade Center site, which they've released here at the end of August, just before the completion of One World Trade Center, which we know was opened its doors on the 3rd of November 2014. So the first Tower of Defiance was the Tower of Babel, that was built after the flood of Noah by a man by the name of Nimrod. Now the Bible does not say that he built the tower, but there are extra biblical texts that say that he was around and instrumental in getting this thing built. So he may not have directly built it, but he may have been the king when it was built. Now that's going to be interesting, because when we look at the second Tower of Babel and when it was built, we have to then look around and see who is the king that is reigning when this tower is built. And that's obviously very interesting. So if you know the story of the Tower of Babel, it was the confusion of the tongues, of the languages of the people. God said, let us go down and confuse their language, otherwise whatever they imagine to do, they will do. So Flavius Josephus, a Jewish historian from the 1st century, explains that the construction of the tower as a hubristic act of defiance against God, ordered by the arrogant tyrant Nimrod. We also see in other rabbinic literature that the Tower of Babel and the intentions of its builders, according to one midrash, the builders of the tower called the generation of secession. God has no right to choose the upper world to himself and to leave the lower world to us. Therefore we will build us a tower with an idol on the top holding a sword, that it may appear as if it intended to war with God. From Flavius Josephus as well, he said, "Now it was Nimrod who excited them to such an affront and contempt of God. He was the grandson of Ham, the son of Noah, a bold man and of great strength of hand. He persuaded them not to ascribe it to God as if it were through his means that they were happy, but to believe that it was their own courage which procured that happiness. He also gradually changed the government into a tyranny." Now that's interesting, because is the king that is reigning today, and who is reigning while the second Tower of Babel has been built, is he trying to change his government into tyranny? Seeing no other way of turning men from the fear of God, but to bring them into constant dependence on his power. Now the multitude were very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod, and to esteem it a piece of cowardice to submit to God. And they built a tower, and they didn't spare any pains in doing it. They spent whatever it took to build it. Now this goes right back to the Masonic craft. And if we read here, they believe that Nimrod Apollo to be Osiris, or Apollo, or Nimrod, because these three are one. It's the same. It's a different name for the same person. So there you can see. So when they talk about Abif, they're actually referring to Osiris or Apollo or Nimrod. Nimrod is seen by several Masonic sources as the true origin of Freemasonry, that the true first master builder was Nimrod, and he built the Tower of Babel and not Solomon's Temple. Also through Masonic literature, Nimrod and Osiris are seen as the same personage. And here is this slide is just to show you the link between Nimrod and Apollo. So it says here that this is just somebody hypothesizing about what the return of Nimrod would be. And it would obviously be in a day and age when technology was able to manipulate DNA and build electronic things. So on a side note, mankind's ultimate achievement was the race to land on the moon, and it was called the Apollo space program. This was the ultimate demonstration at that time of mankind's advancing knowledge and the final drive towards godhood via the Great Plan. They paid direct homage to Nimrod via his pseudonym Apollo. And there's a reference to the first shuttle being called Columbia after Queen Semiramis. And on this slide it just gives you a bit of a historical breakdown of the time period of the Tower of Babel and Nimrod's reign on the earth. And I'll just leave that slide there for a few seconds if you want to pause it and read it. But we saw that through Nimrod's efforts and the representation of his defiance by building the tower, it invoked intervention from God on high. And so would we not expect a second intervention from God on high at the second Tower of Babel? And yes, we would. And that's exactly what they're provoking. They know more about end times than most Christians do, because they are the driving force to the abomination and the defiance towards God. And whenever God is defied, he does intervene. And that's going to exactly happen this time around as well. So we're going to just go through a breakdown of this logo. It's very interesting, and it's from their own words, and I'll patch that in here now. Okay, here is a visual breakdown of the 6 meanings that they have stated that this new logo represents. These numbers I've put on, but I'm going to show you why. So if we look down at the breakdown as reviewed by this article at just after the middle of October last year, 2014, we're going to see some of the symbolism that they've revealed about this logo, but in the course of this series of videos I'm going to show you some more hidden meaning. So if we scroll down, we can see there's going to be 5 buildings at the Trade Center site, and if you look at that number 55 for the retail space, that is another Masonic number, but we're going to focus on the logo. So there's the logo, released in October 2014, and let's go down and see what they have to say its meanings are. So the first meaning that they give to it is it symbolizes the trident, because on the old Trade Center buildings there was a trident type structure that went from the bottom up to the top of the building. So here you can see they're making use of 1, 2, 3, 4 of the bars. So they're making use of 1, 3, 5 and 7, and you saw earlier in the description of the logo, each of these bars has a meaning, and there's 8 of them, and we'll also come back to that later. So there you can see the first representation is the trident. The second representation is the angle 17.76. This angle going up is 17.76, and if you look at that as a triangle, that edge there is the hypotenuse, and we're also going to come back to that later, which is going to reveal something very interesting. The next one is the 2 light beams that were created as a tribute. So they're making use of 2 and 4 there as the beams of light, which we're also going to come back to because that has a very significant meaning as well, and revelation. And then of course it makes the symbol of a W, which again is also very symbolic. We tie that into the triad claw, the symbol made with the hand of the devil's horns, or to make the letter M or the letter W, because obviously if you turn that upside down it's the letter M. And we'll also show how that is displayed on the building of One World Trade Center, and we'll also show you the mathematics of the angle of 17.76 and the Masonic 3-4-5 triangle, which also makes a W. And then last, but no, well, not lastly, but second to last, the 2 bottom black bars here represent the reflecting pools, and then the last symbol they've released is that each of these 5 black bars represents one of the buildings at the Trade Center site. So you can see that of this logo, all 8 of the bars are used to represent something, and that number 8 is significant because an 8 on its side is the letter is the symbol for infinity. And so what they're intimating is that this is everlasting and will never be challenged or brought down, and it's an act of defiance to God. So we saw the breakdown of the logo and how it has certain meanings. Well, let's now compare One World Trade Center and the Tower of Babel, the first Tower of Babel. And in this series of videos, I'm going to show you that this is indeed the second tower built as an act of defiance towards God, with a sword on the top. And obviously, the most obvious symbolism of this logo is the duality, black and white. And this is represented in the Masonic temples as the checkered floor. So, straight away, there is your first clue that this whole World Trade Center site and the buildings and the memorial and everything is built by the Masons and has Masonic meaning, and therefore has Luciferian agenda and Luciferian propaganda and Luciferian doctrine for the raising of Osiris in the embodiment of Apollo to reign upon the earth again. So this is the end of the first video. In the next few videos I will show you more breakdown that proves that this is the second Tower of Babel.